This is Karen with My I'm Possible Dream, and I am with a family. I don't know why I had to think about that, but they're a blended family, and I am really excited to be here because I have known Ben for a very long time. In fact, the first time we met Ben, Alex, about how old do you think he was?
I totally forgot. It's been so long since I've even seen him. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and so you were 17 at the time.
17 or 18.
You're going to be 25 this week.
Yeah.
So that was 8 years ago, and you are going to be 16 and driving here soon. So that means you were 8 years old, and you were this tiny little kid. And now you can't see him, but he's tall and thin, and like I just said, we just found out he's going to be driving very, very soon. And Ben has a twin brother by the name of Zach, and even though they're twins, Ben is on the spectrum, Zach is not. And that's not unusual, but what I'm finding very unusual about this family is that you wouldn't know that even Ben is on the spectrum because he is just part of the whole family. And I'm actually going to start with his stepdad, Ryan. Because, you know, Ryan, you came into this family and not only were you getting 4 kids here, but you were getting 3 kids and one that had a few special needs.
Right.
Were you really bargaining for that? Was that part of your dream in life?
Not necessarily, but I had fell in love with his mother, and obviously came the kids, and I learned to love them as my own.
And as I know, as a parent having somebody on the spectrum, it's not always easy. You can love your spouse as much as you want, but there are days that you probably want to pull your hair out of your head. I notice you don't have a lot of hair on your head.
No. Thanks, man.
Oh, I thought so. So, when you met Tracy, did you know what autism was? What was your background?
I really didn't know anything about autism at the time. Until we got involved, and then we had moved in together, and I got to see what autism is about.
And so
yeah.
So Tracy, prior to that time, when we first met, you were married, and I know at that time, you know, Ben was having, you know, his issues, but that's typical at that age. You know, absolutely. At 8 years old, it's a tough time. And at the same time, you were going through a rocky marriage, which most of us didn't know at the time. And you probably were trying to hide that from the kids.
Absolutely.
But then you became a single mom for a while. And we all know that the divorce rate is much higher amongst autism families. How did you handle it as a mom?
Wow, it's a loaded question.
It's okay.
Well, first of all, I was a stay-at-home mom, which I think was huge. So the kids, I was used to handling them a lot by myself. Terry, my ex-husband, and Ben's father had to work in order to provide for us, and going through with the autism, I needed to be home. So I was used to handling them a lot on my own. Divorce, that was a hard thing. We sat down together with them and individually talked to them at first. Surprisingly, Ben was very receptive to it. They really didn't realize that we were having a hard time with our relationship until after Terry had moved out, and they individually each came up to me and said, you know, I never realized how happy you are now. And it wasn't that we didn't get along. We hid it from the children. But we did have a lot of trouble. And
well, and any marriage can have trouble, but having 4 kids, having twins,
yes,
and having one, who had some special needs, that's going to cause a little bit more heartache and ruffle some feathers. So, Ben, when did you realize, or did you realize that you were on the spectrum, or maybe you were a little bit different from Zach or your older brother Johnny? Did you ever realize that?
I honestly don't think of myself that different from everyone else.
I'm going to have you talk up.
Okay. I don't feel like that different from everyone else. Zach kind of just makes, well, not just Zach, Aubrey and Johnny kind of just make me feel like I'm just another one of the kids, like, as well. So that's not really that difficult. Like, it's not like I'm completely, like, different. Like, I get on all these tantrums and stuff because they have some rough moments too, and it's not that like, doesn't show as much, I guess, than when you have like a group of people who like kind of try to blend in with each other, I guess.
I think growing up together, they learned how to handle the tantrums, and have actually helped him learn how to handle them outside of the home too. Ben has, which I never thought, if you would have told me at 8 years old that he would be in high school singing and playing the keyboard alone on stage, you would have blew my mind. But I think having the support and not only me, but my ex-husband being musically and theater and dance, we used to have little shows in the house. So he was used to the audience, and kids in school don't even realize that he's autistic, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't have known had they not told me.
You wouldn't have noticed that either, Grandma?
There's so many people in our school, too. They're like, they're so
You're going to have to talk up because I don't think it's catching your voices.
There are people in our school who like will bring up autism or something. They'll talk to me and they'll be like, well, how do you know so much about it? I'm like, I have a twin who's autistic. And he's like, what? Ben's autistic? I'm like, yeah. He's just a lot better at like hiding it. Like he's just like everyone else. Like there's not much of a difference between him and us.
And Alex, wouldn't you agree that, bringing out that awareness is so important, that they say when you've met one person on the spectrum, you've met one person, because everybody is totally different. When Alex was younger, the only time that you really knew that he was on the spectrum was when he had one of his meltdowns. And typically his meltdowns came from when he was being bullied. And he was an easy target to be bullied, not because of his autism, but because he let himself out there to be friends with everybody. But he didn't have role models, like I said earlier. Ben has, he had his dad when his dad was living here, and still has his dad. He has Ryan. He has his brother Johnny. He has Zach. He has their friends. He even has his younger sister. Okay? So you have all these people who are helping keep you sort of centered. Whereas, Alex, you had nobody.
Yep. I had absolutely nobody.
I have to also let you know how much you helped and influenced Alex, Ben. You did. He's really looked up to you like a mentor, and in many ways. Many ways.
And I want to add that Ben is one of the first people, like when I was giving you and back then Terry the advice of like find out what he loves to do and push him to do that and keep him towards that circle of friends. I mean, when he had me on Facebook a couple years ago and I saw what he was doing, I'm like, they followed the advice and he's on the right path. And I was like, he's going to be just fine. And when I was, with him and I saw what I was capable of doing, that was one of the first moments I realized I can make an impact by raising awareness and helping others who may not either A, have a voice, or B, have realized their potential yet with autism. So, Ben, you were one of the first people, because I have a younger cousin who's also on the spectrum, but I don't see him that often, and I really didn't see him at the time that we were hanging out a while back. And after what I saw, what was going on with you and how I was, impacting you, I said to myself, I can make a bigger impact on my cousin. And he's a little bit lower functioning, and the amazing thing that I've said on multiple occasions is that when I'm with him, he has tone issues, as is a common autism thing. But when I'm with him, I actually get him to work on it. And his mother walks up to me going like, how the heck do you do that? I can't even get him to do it. And I said, there's something about the way I say it. And it's almost like I say, autistic people, we have our own language. It's a social disorder more than anything else. And that's what I was trying to say to you back then, is more like, if he's got a circle of friends, as long as they're there, he's going to be fine, as long as he doesn't stray away like I did. Mm-hmm. I strayed away. I went to the sports people. That was the worst decision I ever made. And fortunately, I've made up with a lot of those people in the music department.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they definitely, both of them are fabulous in music, acting, dancing, you name it. They're definitely, we'll say thespians, because that's where they are. And they don't care. One thing I love about Ben, he doesn't care what people think of him. He is who he is because he is that person. It's pretty amazing.
Well, everyone should be that way.
I agree.
And I have to tell you, a year and a half ago and I use this word very loosely, when I had my breakdown, when I left my job, when I went on medical leave, and Alex said to me, Mom, you keep telling me to follow my dream. You keep taking care of me. Now it's time for you to take care of you. What do you want to do with your life? And I kept saying, but I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't. I was working. I was taking care of my family. Well, right now, Ben and Zach, you have a job. It's going to school, getting your education, so you can eventually do the things that you really want to do. But one of the things that Alex taught me was that even though I may have wanted Alex to get a business degree and go into business or be a teacher or whatever, it's not up to me to decide. Because when you're doing what you passionately like to do, whether it be singing, playing sports, playing the keyboard, you excel at it. Now, you may not be able to make your bread and butter doing it, but if you can do that to keep yourself centered and happy, everything else will fall into place. And I know that you've been performing a lot. And I see that big smile on your face as soon as I say that.
He joined the band this year.
He did what now?
He joined the band this year.
And you're in the band?
Yeah.
So what are you playing this year?
Bass drum.
Bass?
Giant drum.
Wow. So marching band.
Yeah.
So you can be at all the football games.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
Yeah.
Wow. Do they also have a drum line?
Yeah, that's what I'm in.
You're in drum line? Oh.
Yeah.
That's
everybody's favorite part of Brexville's football games is that drum line. And it's sort of become a thing in Northeast Ohio, actually, that the drum line is now become more the cheerleaders section than the cheerleaders are. Look at the Browns. They have a drum line now.
They do.
Instead of cheerleaders, they got a drum line. So that's sort of a big thing here in Cleveland. That's awesome.
Yeah. I wondered, too, if when he can get some of that extra anxiety out by pounding away. Because when he had a role in his play, he got to yell. And he said, Mom, have you noticed I haven't had any breakdowns at home in the past couple months? And I said, yeah, actually.
You did play that role really well.
You guys have a breakdown in the play. So
yeah, it's like this little nervous doctor kind of guy who kind of just exploded at the end of the play. And it was kind of like really, really fun to do, I guess.
We had no idea, so when we saw the play, we were like, wow.
Well, that's pretty neat. And, and it's interesting because over this past summer, Alex has been at home quite a bit working on things. And one of the things I've noticed with him too is that he now is finding those areas that he needs to express himself. And it doesn't always include me or other people.
Right.
And obviously those are the things that you're finding out at an early age, that, you know, maybe getting a part in a play where you have to practice yelling, or maybe being in the drum line where you have to practice beating a drum, okay, is going to help you keep, you know, those energies where they need to be, rather than putting them out in the wrong places. And one of the things that Alex is doing right now, he's putting together a YouTube show on gaming. And so I hate video games to the point of, Alex, you got to get to work. But now this is his work. So tell him a little bit about how that helps you.
So for years, and I think even you probably, if you remember the one time we hung out, you saw this. Video games was a really big part of my life too. And it was an addiction. And there are serious problems with that. And I admit I probably was at a bad point. And I realized this past summer I had a successful sports broadcasting show that I decided to take a 2-month hiatus because I just didn't love it anymore. I wanted to be a fan again. And in the process, I said, I still want to do broadcasting. I said, no one's doing a video gaming show. Because I was watching E3 and I'm like, gee, I would love to see reporters do this. I would love to be there. Because I'm watching the PlayStation one. I'm like, there are grown men crying for one reveal. And I'm like, I want to report this. I want to be there. I want to interview these people who are excited for a game to the point of crying. And I said, but I got to start somewhere. So I came up with the idea of a YouTube show. And I'm working at Best Buy on the weekends. I had a buddy who's a game developer, and he knows games. And we decide, hey, we should co-host a YouTube show, which we're getting ready to debut. We're getting ready to record our first show. It's called Bits and Pixels.
Remember that.
So we're going to review everything from maybe one day Atari 2600 to the PS4, Wii U, and Xbox One. So what we've done in my room is we've made it like recording central. You have all the game capture devices ready to go. And I've made it so that my love for games now is in a more constructive way. I became able to identify a negative and make it a positive. And that's something that I'm starting to learn now, that even though we may have negatives, we need to find a way to flip it in such a way that it becomes a strength. That's my next lesson for you, at least.
Ben plays game. He's right on the same page with you. I catch him at night watching, is it YouTube videos?
I watch a lot of Netflix. So.
of
Lots of
gaming
Minecraft,
and
Redstone tutorials and stuff.
so.
What games do you play?
That.
I play a lot of Minecraft and modded Minecraft, and then I'll play like Batman Arkham City and things like that, like open world games, Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
Just
all great titles.
PlayStation guy, though. I play a lot of Xbox. And PC.
We don't have a PlayStation. We haven't had a PlayStation since the first one. So if he had it, he would be playing it too.
This is just a spoiler for Bits and Pixels for everybody. After E3, PlayStation is number one. It's not even remotely close.
Yeah.
So you two are twins, but if you were walking down the street, I don't think anybody would suspect that you were twins. We probably would think that you were brothers. Okay. What do you have in common? What likes do you both have?
Well, music and theater is definitely one that we both share. With we like doing show choir, and we do the plays and the musicals, and that's just kind of the thing that we both of us do all the time. Like that's our school life is music and theater. So
even though Ben's on the spectrum and Zach is not, you do have similar likes?
Yeah.
Do you have similar friends?
Mostly just the people that do the theater with us. We're both pretty good friends with all of them. But, I mean, we don't really have friends that we hang out on a daily basis. That is large. We only have one. But he doesn't even go to our school. So.
Okay.
They definitely have separate friends. Zach had played sports, so he's still with a lot of those sports friends, and Ben has been with his same friends since he's gotten to school, which was a hard hard transition coming here for them from Cuyahoga Falls, but they've really acclimated themselves. Zach is the president of their junior class, and Ben is involved in
Everything.
So
That's a good thing.
That is absolutely wonderful. I am so impressed. But in the meantime, we've left your poor little sister out of this. And she's not so little anymore.
No.
Because last time we saw her, she was this tiny little thing. So 8 years ago, you were how old?
8 years old, 5 or 6.
5.
5?
5 years old, yeah.
It's 5?
You have to speak up.
I got one more week before school. I don't want to do math.
You don't want to do, that's okay. You don't have to do the math for us. So, in your classrooms, since you've been going to school, have you met anybody who's on the spectrum? Anybody who's autistic in your classes?
No.
No.
So,
Not that she knows of, let's put it that
so,
way.
and this is what I'm finding interesting, is that because this family has been so supportive and so understanding of Ben, that you just all just accept people for people. And I want other people to start doing that. I wish we could go back to Brecksville right now.
Yeah.
And have Alex's class of 2008 accept Alex for Alex, because they don't. They still remember him from elementary school and middle school having his meltdowns. And they still think of him as
The monster.
Aww.
and he
Yeah.
hasn't
That
been
is-
that for
Oh, that monster was slaughtered at my senior year. And
well, probably before.
a little bit before, but we're going to be accurate on it. But I will say, for people who aren't aware of the book that's being made about my story, when people read it, I'm going to warn people right now, some of the stuff that's in there, nobody knows. And when I even said it, I asked myself this question repeatedly. How the heck did I survive? Because in every fashion, I mean, this is why I knew you would be okay. You had a great family. You had brothers and sisters who were there for you. As my mother said, my brother not only didn't really talk to us, but a few years ago ditched her side of the family. So I haven't spoken to him in about 5 years. So I never had a role model until about 3 years ago, when I met somebody at one of the walks who's become my big brother. But growing up, I just had these two. I had my parents with me, and for the first 5 years of my diagnosis, only one of them was home during the week. The other was out of town, working. It was not the best environment, because halfway through, it got switched. So I got two completely different parenting styles that conflicted, very much so. So it threw me off and set me back. So when the book comes out, I want you to read it.
Read it.
Yeah, it's really, really deep stuff.
Have you read it, Mom?
Oh, it's still in the process.
Okay.
The interviews are still going on. The writer who is putting it together, his name is Vince McKee. He's written a number of sports books. In fact, he wrote a book about LeBron.
Coming back.
Yep.
Oh.
So we're pretty excited about that. And Vince and Alex are going to be doing a sports show as well.
Hopefully.
Well, they're working on it.
It's tentative.
Okay. Well, they're working on it. So, a lot of good things are happening. And a lot of good things are happening, Ben, because we think about you a lot. And I have to tell you, it's because of your successes that sometimes are what fuel Alex.
Trust me, I have felt horrible it took me this long to see you again. I feel absolutely horrible.
We have wanted to. Our schedules have just been crazy. It's hard when you have a big family, and then we need to make time for it. That's one thing, because I know you inspire him.
Well,
I remember, I will say this. Last time we hung out, we were going to WWE SmackDown. It was my first event. I think it was your first event, too.
Only event.
And he said to me in the car, he says, "You want to know what I want to do?" And I said, "What's that?" "I want to sing like you." And I honestly, I almost broke down there, but I had to show strength. It was so hard for me to not cry. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do.
You guys should sing together. That would be amazing.
It would be. It would be.
That would be great for the album.
I've seen some of your show choir stuff. When you said you made show choir, I teared up. I saw it on Facebook. I teared up because I'm like, I hadn't seen you in like 2 years, and I was saying, oh my God, everything that he said he wanted to do, he's doing, and it fuels me. I mean, I got multiple relatives who also look up to me. I know I have one in California who I'm basically now his role model, and I sort of am taking that same approach I did with you, the exact same approach. How I spent a week with him last year in LA. Almost everything I taught you, I taught him.
What you don't know is all the information that you have given us, and both of you really helped us to understand autism more than any of the classes that we had taken, any of the occupational therapy, any of the help that we had gotten. It helped to see hands-on, to know that things are going to work out for him, and steps on, what to do with his hands when he doesn't know what to do with them. I mean, you'll see he fiddles, and I mean, nobody knows because of things that you guys have taught him.
And medical experts can only tell you so much. The thing that I'm lucky enough with, and there are a few out there who do speak about it as well, we've experienced it, and we're able to tell people. So that's what I think the greatest gift I've been given is that I'm able to comprehend and then tell.
It's huge.
And I know, in all respect to any medical expert, it's the personal experience of dealing with it that gives you the best perspective.
Every quarter, Northwestern
Case Western
has their third-year medical students come for a panel discussion, and Alex and I have been sitting on it, and we share information about autism, and it's quite interesting that Alex and I are always asked back. The other people sometimes are not, but one of the things that we tell the prospective medical students is make sure that you are talking to the person on the spectrum, asking them what they're feeling. Then talk to the parents and ask them what they're feeling. It's not about lab work. It's not about all the technical aspects of it. Because I do believe that if doctors would find that human component, that's where you get your answers. That's how you can succeed. And sadly, we didn't realize that even with Alex until a couple of years ago. We were constantly directing. Mm-hmm. Now we guide. We show him where it is. And then we sit and we wait. And if he doesn't go there, we'll come back and say, is there a reason? And sometimes he'll say, yeah, it's not what I want to do, or I can't do that, or I want to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he'll be sitting there going, I have no idea what you asked me to do. And you look at him and go, well, it's as simple as picking your clothes up off the floor. But he didn't get that connection. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't realize that those words just haven't penetrated.
Yes, and we do have trouble once in a while with Johnny's, his oldest brother, his older brother, when he still thinks that he's old. He still at times thinks he can understand and that he was going to grow out. Well, he's like, well, Mom, he's old enough. He should be able to do that now. And I said, you might not be explaining it right. He doesn't quite understand. There's still times that he, as much as he has helped him and influenced him in life, he still has trouble seeing when he does have a breakdown. He says he can control it. I said, not always. You know, sometimes we have to talk him out of it. What's going on? Comfort him. And sometimes they aggravate him still at times when he is going in that situation, into that. So it's always a learning curve.
And it always will be. And that's who you are, and that's okay. We are all unique. There aren't two snowflakes that are alike, and there are no two people who are alike. And our society has to start understanding that, and it's up to us to make them aware. That's why Alex gets out there and speaks. He performs. His music tells that story as well. But he gets out in front of school groups, he gets out in front of corporations, and he shares that this is who I am. And if there's anybody in the audience who doesn't have a quirk, please raise your hand. And nobody raises their hand.
No.
Because we all have some kind of quirks. Absolutely.
I'm beautiful.
I want a second opinion.
Oh, he grew up with me.
The first time you used that, Alex, that was at the Cleveland Indians.
Yep.
And it was quite funny because he was talking before the front office at the Cleveland Indians, and he said, is there anybody here who doesn't have a quirk? And the room just got silent. And they all started talking to each other, and they all started pointing to each other. You do this. And somebody said, and you do. And it was just so funny. And Alex said, yes, we all have quirks. Mm-hmm. He said, so why should I be different just because I'm on the spectrum? And it was like,
that's a good point.
That's a really good question.
Does it make it different? Exactly.
Yeah. And so he shared. And so he really shares that more and more. And I do too when we do our podcast. When somebody will say, I have this great dream, but you're going to think it's weird. Okay, that's all right. Because you know what? Weird dreams do come true. Mm-hmm. So what is it? And let's go with it.
Absolutely.
Ben, I'm so glad that I saw that you're going to start driving in a month. I know your mother is getting a little nervous here.
Stay off the roads, everybody.
But it made us realize that you and Zach are both growing up, that you are progressing, and that just makes us so happy. Just keep up the good work. And I think Alex has to think about maybe doing some sort of a duet for the CD.
Yeah.
That would be a great idea.
We'll start collaborating. We'll start thinking about something.
That sounds good.
Awesome. That's great.
We'd love that. Thank you very much. We appreciate being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.